Good evening. Just realised I had only switched plugged half my microphone in. Welcome on this quite bright and sort of still a little bit of sunshine out there Thursday evening, but I'm sure that it will soon get quite dark and we need to be switching lights on in a minute. But in the meantime, welcome in. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. I have just swallowed my dinner so that I can be here with you. Sorry, moving wires out the way and wobbling the phone. And we can do some crafting. And we're going to be doing some crafting today using this Harvest Hellos bundle, which is what I shared with you on Monday morning. So the Harvest Hellos bundle consists of this lovely stamp set that you can either create pumpkins or squashes of some kind or apples from, and you've got apple slices, you've got your little pumpkin face there, variety of leaves and stalks and squiggly bits, a few different sentiments and things there, this sort of little row of pips, and then to coordinate with that you get this fabulous punch. So that's the Harvest Hellos bundle, and that's what we're going to be using this evening to create a couple of cards. Obviously on Monday morning, I'll just pop that out the way for a minute. On Monday morning we cased the catalogue, and this is the card that we created on Monday with a bit of a watercolour wash on those apples using Granny Apple Green to make some Granny Smith apple type apples. And there's our little slice just there. So that was our casing the catalogue. Here's a couple of cards I'd made previously, and actually as I'm standing here I thought I meant to get out the scrapbook page that I've done, so let me reach that. It's packed in a box ready to go off to the retreat. I've got my all-day retreat on Saturday, and this is one of the projects that I've done. So my little grandson Kellen went off pumpkin picking last weekend, so I've used those photos of him and my daughter and her husband and all the family pumpkin picking to create a pumpkin scrapbook page. So there they are in all their glory. I thought they were just beautiful pictures and just were screaming to be made up into a page, and I've used the little leaves and the squiggly bits and all sorts of things in that particular page layout. So that was my page that I made as I say, to go to the retreat on Saturday. These are the cards that I'd made previously that I needed to put in my box because I take lots of different samples and things with me that I've made up previously, so that ladies can have a go at making those if they want to. And I've actually been asked, so Valerie has asked that I particularly bring this one with me, so I must make sure that when I finish that they get packed away. But for today we're going to be creating some different things. Now I thought I would just show you a few new things that I've had this week before we got stamping. One of them is I've ordered myself some of this lovely grid paper. So it's got this coordinates with the toil tidings, and you've got the sort of lovely toil tidings images around the outside. You've got this bottom half just here is in inches, and the top half is in centimetres, and on the other side it coordinates with the Christmas trees. So you can either have your green side up or your red side up. I think we'll have our red side up for today. And I did think as I was setting up, it hasn't got my website on and I haven't got time to print that out, so let's write that down. Should be an O. www.Love-a-Duckie.co.uk. There we are, there's my website. So that is our new grid paper, our special grid paper that you can get at the moment to make your desk pretty as you are crafting, and I'd got some of that so that we can have some of that on our table at the retreat on Saturday. This is something else I've had come through the post this week, came with an order this week, and if I open up this box, inside is this really pretty gift box. And can you hear it's jangling? If I open up this pretty gift box, inside the gift box is a really pretty bangle with a rose charm on it and the Stampin' Up charm on it, and they're really pretty. So it just sort of slides backwards and forwards so that you can get it on. In fact, let's put it on. There we are. So a nice jangly charm bracelet, and this actually this one is mine. I treated myself, but this actually is the special offer that's on this month. So if you place any order with me, either online or in person, that comes to over £30, you will have the chance to have a ticket, go in a draw, and at the end of the month I will do a draw from all of those names, and one lucky person will be the winner, and I will order them one of these beautiful bangles. So do make sure you get your order in and get in your chance of winning one of these beautiful bangles that say come in this lovely gift box, so that you can either keep it for yourself or give it away as a gift. The other thing I've had come this week, and we're going to use this in a minute alongside lots of other things, all my things from my retreat and lots of other goodies. The other thing I've had come is this rather beautiful blue plate just here. And this blue plate has been developed to go with our new style 3D embossing folders, and we're going to be using one of those today, because what we've had to be doing is adding in sort of extra rubber mats and all those sorts of things to make up our sandwich. So I thought, particularly with the retreat coming up this weekend and with doing lots of classes and things, it would be a lot easier for ladies to remember if all they need to know is that they just need their bottom base plate, their embossing folder and the blue plate, rather than a whole mix of other sandwiches. So that's what that's for, and as I say, we're going to be using that in a minute because we're going to be doing some embossing on one of our projects. So I have two cards for us to make today. One is sort of Halloweeny, but doesn't have to be Halloweeny. You can make it non-Halloweeny if that is your preference, and the other one is going to be using apples. So where shall we start? I think the apple one is the one that's nearest to me, so let's start with that one. So what I've got here is a piece, I've got a sort of piece of A4 card folded in half, and then I've scored it again so that it will fold back on itself, so giving you that sort of a shape, a zigzag shape card. So, and then we've got, the other thing that I've had come this week, let me see, where has that gone, is I've had my new trimmer arrive. Now we haven't got a launch date yet for the new trimmers for customers. If you are a demonstrator, you can get it now, or if you would like to join and become a demonstrator, you can actually add this to your starter kit. So I've had this for a few days now. It arrived on Monday, so I've been having a bit of a play with it, and I have to say that it's doing a good job. It is trimming and scoring beautifully, so I will obviously be using this and introducing it to you over the coming weeks and things, and as soon as you're able to order it, I will let you know, so that if you would like a new trimmer in your life, then you'll be able to get one on the way to you as well. So I have my trimmer. I do also have a bundle that's only available to the moment to demonstrators and people as a starter kit, but I won't share that with you today. I'll share that with you perhaps next week. I'm going to be doing some, I have not yet made any projects with that yet. That's one of the things that I might be doing on Saturday, is having a bit of a play with that. So we're going to start with our card. So we have our card that has been scored in half, and then the front scored and folded back again to create this ZFO card. And then I've got here some garden green, a piece of the garden green Basics paper. So this comes in all of the different colour families, and this is the garden green one. I'm going to pop this light on. It doesn't look so dark on the camera as it actually looks in here in real life. I'm starting to struggle to see. Let me just, excuse me while I reach round and have a bit of a play and put some lights on. And hopefully, once we've done that, that's a bit better. Okay. We have some light on the subject now. So we have our piece of 6x6 square paper. As I say, this comes in all of the colour families. This garden green one is to be found in the Regal family. And this is the gingham one. So it's like a gingham on one side and then this sort of, I don't know what you'd call that really. Jacquard type sort of pattern on the other side. So we're going to cut some mats, one to go on this back just here and one to go on this front just here. Now I know that that back there is 10.5 centimetres, so I'm going to cut that at 10, but I also know that it needs to be 14.4 centimetres long. So let's do that bit first. Now you can see that this trimmer actually clicks into place. So once it's clicked, it's not going anywhere. Which is quite nice because it holds that paper down quite firmly. So we now know that that's 14.4 centimetres long, and we need this to be 10 centimetres wide. And just like with our old trimmer, you have the darker blade that's your cutter blade and the lighter blade that is your scoring blade. So that's our background panel that's going to go in there, and then we need a panel to go on the front here. Now I know that that was 5.25 centimetres. So let's bring it about 4.8, I would think. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. So there we have a piece of paper to go on our front and a piece of paper to go on our back. Put my trimmer behind me for a minute and remember not to sit down. Let's use our snail and take off the protective clip, and we'll stick this mat down on here. It's a good job you're only seeing my hands and not my front. We've had lasagna for tea and I've managed to splatter and tip the tomatoey sauce all down my front. I'd have had to put a cardigan on or something, or an apron, and cover myself up if you'd have been seeing me. Anything more than my hands. It's a good job all you can see is my hands and my beautiful new bracelet. Okay, so there we are. We have our card with our paper stuck on it. Right, now we're going to do some apples to add in. So I've got some Poppy Parade ink, some Granny Apple green ink and some garden green ink. I have our little apple stamp. I shall need the stalk and I shall need the leaf. Okay, so with this apple stamp, it actually comes in the kit with this sort of solid piece in the middle, just to keep it firm. But you want to take that out when you're stamping, otherwise it can pick up lots of ink and you can end up with a very blobby, inky mess, which is why you just get the outline, because you're going to get a clearer image with that. So we're going to start with some Granny Apple green apples, and I'm not sure how many we're going to need, so I think I'm going to go for 2. May not get 2 on there. It go that way. Might just go that way. Yes. Okay, so we've got 2 green apples, And I'm also going to do some Poppy Parade apples. So let's just grab my Simply Chamois. I was only thinking to myself earlier, actually, you can tell that the temperature has dropped considerably, because whereas my Simply Chamois sort of midsummer, if I wet it in the morning, was dry by the afternoon, that's actually stayed damp since Monday. So let's do the same. We're just going to stamp Poppy Parade apples onto Poppy Parade card. Now obviously we just want them to have a little bit of a little bit of an outline. That's all we're looking for, really. Now I'm just thinking, this apple, I'm going to stamp punch this one out first, like that, and then punch this one out. But these ones not been quite so clever, so I've got to manage to get quite a lot of them onto that piece of card, but the problem is it also wants to punch out leaves and a stalk, so if I put them in as they are in a strip, it's going to cut its leaves and stalks out of the apple in top of it. So let's chop those up slightly. And then of course they become fiddly to get in your punch. If they remain fiddly, we do have a workaround. In fact, let's do our workaround. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little strip of this card, a little bit of snail on it, stick it on there and create a handle, which means we can then line that up beautifully. Obviously that doesn't need to be coordinating cardstock, it can be any colour cardstock to create your handle. Let's add it to the next one down. And you could almost sense the concentration as I'm lining those up, can't you? And last but not least, final apple. There we go. Okay, and let's shut up our Poppy Parade ink pad. Give our apple a bit of a clean. I think that will be ready now to go back in the box. And now we've got our leaf. And I'm going to grab a little bit of garden green card. As always, I have my little Polly Pockets full of scraps. So let's stamp out a few leaves. Got 6 there. If we need any more, we'll go back in and stamp them. I'm actually going to start from this end, and the reason I'm going to start from this end is that the stalk is punching out that side. So by starting this end, we know that it's not going to interfere with anything else that I've punched further along. Oh, but it has. See, I thought that was such a good idea, but it's not quite worked. Let's come from this end. Looks as if it's not going to punch anything there anyway. 1, to, this is why sometimes it's as easy to punch them out first and then stamp them on the Stamparatus. Three. Four. Here's one I punched earlier, and I think I will just do a couple more for good luck. And last but not least, okay, let's get rid of those little bits. So we have some apples, we have some leaves, and now we'll bring in a little bit of soft suede cardstock and grab the soft suede ink. I've got lots and lots of things packed up ready for the retreat because I do take pretty well my entire craft room with me. So all my current stamps, all my current dies, punches, all of those come along with me. So I've already started to get those all packed up, ready to go on Saturday. And stalks. 1. 2. 'Now obviously punching these out of coloured card means that I'm not necessarily going to need to colour them in. I'm going to add a bit of a highlight to them. I'm now gathering up lots of little bits and trying to work out which is the little bit I want. So I am going to add some highlights, but other than that I don't need to colour in my apples because the colour cardstock is giving them the colour that they need. That's that one. So let's get rid of any other little bits of card that we don't need so that we're not confusing ourselves with them. Same with these. I don't think there's anything more that I'm going to be able to get out of those pieces of card. So let's pop them in my recycling bin. Okay, so we have a variety of little apples and we have some stalks and some leaves. So here's one I've done earlier. All I'm going to use is I'm going to take my white watercolour pencil and just add some little highlight marks, and I'm sort of taking as my guide the highlight that's stamped on there already. I might add in a little bit at the top here. Just to give it a little bit more of a 3D depth. So you don't have to be too precise with this, you don't have to be too heavy-handed, it is just adding in a little bit, almost like a shine. Right, now let's bring back in card base. I thought what we'd have is like a little stack of apples coming up this side here, and then we'd have another apple on this side. I haven't decided yet whether that's going to be a red one or a green one. Now let's start to build these. So I don't necessarily want them sticking over this side particularly, because I don't want it, I want it to be able to fit into its envelope. Now, as we said the other day, with the stalks on your pumpkins, they go fat side down and thin side at the top. With your apples, it's the other way round. Yes, I think if we can tuck that in like that, so the stalk's coming over the top of it, but the apple is coming the other way. And I'll add the leaves in last of all. And that one, and then our little leaves. That'd be quite nice to pop a dimensional under there. It looks as if all my dimensional sheets are getting to the stage where I'm on to just the edge bits, the ones that are in my little box of adhesives back here. So let's just snip a little bit off, put a dimensional on the back of there, and we'll have that leaf. So I've just given those leaves a little bit of a curl just between my fingers. Just sort of curled them round a little bit. That's a bit of a fat bit, so let's cut that in half. And then, last but not least, let's have this one on the top. There we go. So there's our stack of apples coming up there. So we've got a few apples left. Do we just want one in here, or should we have a couple? Might be quite nice to have a couple, mightn't it? But then what I'm going to do as well is on the top uppermost apple, I'm actually going to stamp my greeting directly onto there. So let's just clean up that stalk. I will need that for my pumpkins in a minute. And I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to stamp this in. No, actually I think we'll go for the garden green because that's a darker shade. So we'll do garden green greeting on the granny apple green apple. So you make me smile. There we go. So we'll stick down the back one. Oh, let's put my, that's it. Just not quite pressing hard enough. So about there, I think. And then we'll put some dimensionals on the back of this one. Raise that one up. Everybody else have song lyrics come into their head. So all I can think now is, you raise me up so I can stand on mountains. I won't sing it to you. You really don't need that in your life. Right, okay. Let's put some stalks on here. It's amazing the difference actually just adding those stalks make, doesn't it? It really does bring them to life. And let's add in a couple of more leaves. And this one. Now, should we be wildly extravagant and give that 2 leaves? Yes, let's be mad. There we go. Now I'm just wondering, I can just about reach my box of ribbon. Ooh. Would we like a piece of ribbon on there? Hi Susan! How lovely to have you join us live. Just trying to decide whether or not I want a bit of ribbon. Seems like a good idea, but I'm not sure where I'd put it, or if I want it at all. That might be quite cute if we can make it much smaller. Absolutely, Susan, that's the best way, is to go back and watch the replay. And if for any mad reason you can't find it, you can also always go and try and find my message me and I'll send you a link to the YouTube channel. But you should be able to find it on the Facebook. Once I've finished, I hit share, so hopefully it will be there to be found. There, I think we'll have that little bit of a bow on that apple just there. You're very welcome, Susan. Thank you for joining me. Right, okay. So there we have an apple card. So as I said, that was used, that was just punched tone on tone onto the coloured cardstock, punched out and just added some watercolour pencil highlights and the paper from the Regals, the garden green checked paper from the Regals DSP stack. So yeah, quite a simple little card, just with a little Z fold and lots of lovely apples. You could make that obviously a card for the teacher. You could make it a get well card, but it could equally be a birthday card or a whatever sort of card you like. Well done on the diet. That would be quite a good card, wouldn't it? So there we go. So there's our apple one. So now we're going to have a bit of a play with a card that could be used for Halloween. Now let me just move this box of ribbon back out of the way so that I don't knock it flying. Got everything sort of stacked up on my table ready to transfer into Mike's car for the retreat on Saturday. So we've got one stalk, one apple and one leaf left there. I'm sure I'll be able to find something to do with those later. Let's just pop our apple stamp back away, because we're not going to be needing that, because we're going to be using the pumpkin stamp, and there's a different leaf that we can use with the pumpkins as well. So we'll be using that one. My laptop's gone to sleep, it doesn't want to play with us, but that's fine. So let me move these little bits out of the way along with my trimmer behind me, so that I'm ready to bring in the next box of goodies. Apologies for wobbling you. Right, what time is it here, Susan? So we are just coming up 20 to 7 in the evening, so I've had to put all the lights on. When I started at just gone 6 o'clock, it was still quite light outside, a little bit of sun. It's now really dark, and it's the light has just fallen away in that 40 minutes. So yeah, we're well and truly into night time here. 1:40, so 1:40 in the afternoon, so you're midday. So I've just swallowed my dinner. You've now no doubt just swallowed your lunch. It is amazing, isn't it? And when so the Australian ladies that quite often will come on and visit me, they won't be coming until later. So if you are watching, ladies, hello. But they will be on catch up, because at this point in time they will no doubt be in bed. We know that that's the case, but it's sort of it's a funny thing to get your head round when you're actually chatting to people live, isn't it? Right, so pumpkins. But we're not going to start with the pumpkins. We're going to start by playing with my new blue embossing plate for my die cutting machine. That's going to enable us to more easily use these 3D embossing folders. So I have got a piece of black card just there, and that measures 9 centimeters square, because we're actually going to be making up just a little, this is just a little under 4 inches square in Granny Apple Green, so it actually measures about 9.9 centimeters, that card. And the reason it measures 9.9 centimeters is here in the UK, or if you're using metric A4 card measurements, you can actually get 3 of these from a length of A4 card, so that's why they're 9.9 centimeters. So that will eventually sit rather beautifully on there. But first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some embossing on it. Now here I've got the hammered metal 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to take my hammered embossing folder. I'm going to have it so that the Stampin' Up logo is this top bit just here. That's the bit I'm going to be playing with initially. Now this is one of these techniques that you never quite know how it's going to turn out till it turns out, and each one will be slightly different. But I'm going to take my Versamark pad, so my sticky ink, and I'm just going to rub it over the surface. So I don't want to press too hard, but I'm just going to rub it over the surface of that embossing folder. And then I'm going to take my piece of black card and pop that in there. And I'm going to bring up my Big Shot. So as I say, this is one of the 3D embossing folders. And I've got on here my just plain platform and my embossing folder with my cardstock in it, and then my funky new plate. So this plate is slightly thicker than a standard acrylic plate. So what it does is it takes account, so you've got the width of a normal plate plus a little bit more that just makes up the width that you need to make up the sandwich, the correct sandwich, the pressure in the sandwich to go through your machine. Without having to worry about what extra shims and things you're going to put in there, which is what we've had to be doing. And as I said just now, I thought that I would get one, because doing different classes and things, and with the retreat at the weekend, it's much easier for ladies if I can just say, just use the blue plate with that one. Right, so here we have our embossed piece of card. But of course, obviously, before we ran that through the embossing folder, we rubbed that Versamark over it. So let's see what that has done. by flinging some silver embossing powder at it. That flick on the back and knock off any excess. So you can see what I've got now is my black card, and where the lines are sticking up, they've remained black, and then I seem to have a layer of powder in the holes, in the indents. Now, no doubt, had I inked up the other side of the embossing folder, we'd have had a very different look, and it's always fun to do that, to see what you get on the other side. I seem to have buried my heat gun. There we are. Right, so excuse the noise. Let's put some heat on this baby and see what happens. So I'll just let that get hot for a minute. There she goes. Sorry, Susan. So all I've done is I have rubbed some Versamark on the where it says stamping up on there. I've just rubbed the Versamark across there, run it through the die cutting machine, and then sprinkled silver embossing powder all over it. So what happened was that the Versamark got squashed. Oh dear. So the Versamark got squashed down into the grooves in the card, and that's picked up the silver embossing powder. So rather than just a plain black piece of embossed card, we've got a black and silver piece of embossed card, which hopefully gives us quite a nice little hurricane-y feel. Hurricane, that's because I've been reading about your hurricanes, Susan. Halloween feel, not hurricane feel. I should think you've had enough of hurricane feels and could quite live without any more. Thank you very much. Obviously here in the UK, Halloween is a little bit sort of hit and miss. Some people really get into it. Other people really are not interested. I don't do Halloween in a big way myself. It's not something that I was brought up as a child doing. Obviously my little grandchildren and things get a bit more involved with things these days. Has become more of a thing over here, but it still isn't a big thing, and for lots of my customers they're really not very interested in Halloweeny. So what I'm doing today is a little card that you can make into a Halloween card, but you can equally that's right, that glue has got a bit gunked up. You equally don't have to. Come along, little glue. No, it doesn't want to play. Let's use our snail for now. I'll put quite a bit on there just because it is bobbly. Right, so there is our nice black shiny silver background on our little bit of granny apple green square cardstock. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp some pumpkins, but this time I'm going to colour them with my blends. So because I'm colouring with my blends, I obviously need to stamp with my Memento ink. So there's our pumpkin, and you can see the pumpkin differs from the apple in that you get these sort of lines in there to give that sort of sense of pumpkins are obviously sort of got that sort of scalloped almost outer, haven't they? And this gives you that sort of sense. And because you've got the lines going all through the stamp, this one is a solid stamp, whereas the apple is just the outline. This is a solid stamp. So tap 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 on our ink, make sure that's well covered, and then we will stamp that onto that piece of card. And out. So I'm also going to punch out, where did my little block go? There it is. Also going to punch out a little, oh, that wasn't very well, was it? Let's try that again, once more with feeling. That's better. Not done very well with my stamp placement this evening, have I? Where's that little bit of card gone? There we go. I just wanted to re-show you that little technique of just sticking on a piece of card to make a handle if you haven't got enough of a bit of card to line it up. There we go. So that's our little stalk, and the other thing we're going to need is one of these little leaves. Now we haven't got a punch for this, so this one will need to be fussy cut, but that's okay, we can do that. Okay, so let's pop our punch to one side for now. So we have got our pumpkin, we have got our stalk, and we've got our little leaf. So let's cut out this little leaf. So even there in New York, you're not into Halloween, Susan. Well, this is very definitely a card that you don't have to make Halloweeny. You can just have it as pumpkins or squashes. You can get all sorts of coloured squashes and things, can't you? Right, just going to cut round this little leaf. Okay, so we have our stalk, our pumpkin and our leaf. Let's start with the stalk because that's nice and easy. I'm just going to take a piece of dark suede stamping blend and just colour that in. So that's nice and easy. The leaf is nearly as easy. I'm just going to take the dark blend and where those lines are, just going to add in some dark and a little bit round the edge in the darker colour. And then I'm going to take my light stamping blend and go all over the top and blend that out. Actually, the nice thing about that is where I've cut it out, if there's parts that have sort of got a bit of white round the edge, you soon fill those in with your colouring in. So we've got our leaf and we've got our stalk. And now I'm going to colour in my pumpkin. Now with my pumpkins, I got a little bit fancy pants. So I've got some light Cajun craze, some dark and light pumpkin pie, obviously, and a dark So Saffron. So I'm going to start with the light Cajun craze and I'm going to go where all these lines are. I'm going to put down some dark Cajun craze, so sort of either side of them, and then round that edge and around the top there. It's looking very odd. Hopefully it will all come together. The others did, so we live in hope that this one will as well. Now I've got some dark pumpkin pie and I'm going to go all over that. So go over the top of that dark Cajun craze, that light Cajun craze, and sort of drag that colour out a little bit and make it a bit wider. So I'm coming in a bit wider. I've coloured all of that end segment. So coming out a bit wider, going over the top of the other colour, blending it all together. And then again we'll do this whole of this end segment just here in the darker colour. Obviously you can take a little bit more time and care than I am. Let's come in with our light pumpkin pie now, and I'm just going to bring that over and just leave a little strip just there. And again, just a little strip in there. And then I'm going to take my dark So Saffron, and I'm going to take the brush end on this, and I am going to go over the whole pumpkin with this one, bringing that colour together, blending it out. And I'm just going to give that a bit of a squiggle just to bring it back. To its original colour. Make sure it's not been contaminated in any way. So there. So we have our little pumpkin just there. Here's two other little pumpkins. Here's two I made earlier. So in order to make this one Halloweeny, on one of the pumpkins, so I think on this front one, I'm going to use the funny little pumpkin face, jack-o'-lantern type face. Ink that up with some Memento black. Okay, Div, see you soon. Okay, so there we have our little pumpkin face on that top one. And the other thing I'm going to bring in, can't find them, is the googly eyes. So we've got an assortment of googly eyes with a variety of different colours. There's lots of just white ones, but there's some that are green, some are sort of like the mango-y colour, some are purple. And I am going to get my pickup tool, and this is where I'd really like this to be working. And it doesn't want to, so let me just find another glue behind me somewhere. That one feels as if that one might play ball. Yes, oh, that's perhaps a bit more than I wanted. I'm just going to put a couple of little spots of glue in those eyes, and I'm going to take the green googly eyes to bring it in line with our green card base. Stay. Stay, little googly eye. Stay. Right, I'll let that dry for a minute. So we have two little green googly eyes. Oh, I've got an escaped eye just there. You don't want that, do you? You don't want eyes rolling round on your desk. Okay, so we've got our googly eyes on there, so let's bring in our card. So what I thought we'd do is we'd have a little stack of pumpkins, and then the one on the front can be our Halloweeny pumpkin. So let's put a little bit of, let's find the glue that's working. Let's put a little bit of Tombow. Come on, you needn't stop now. Our glues are not wanting to work today. Right, okay, got you. And so with this one, we're going to have, so with the apples, we've got the fat end at the top. With these, we're going to have a fat end at the bottom. So we've got a narrower stalk. Oh, I've just pulled his eye off. That's disastrous. You really don't want to stick on there, do you, little eye? Stay. Okay, and then we're also going to stick our little leaf across the back there too. Let's sort of tuck that leaf around the front of that stalk like that. Great stuff. Okay. So I'm going to stick that pumpkin just there. That pumpkin just there, and then we'll find some more dimensionals. And we'll lift this pumpkin up at the front. Still got the backing sheet on the back. My fingers have got really gluey now, so everything is sticking to my fingers as well as to my pumpkin. Let's have him down there. And the little greeting I've got just there says, "Hey there, pumpkin." Yeah, I think possibly at that top corner. I think we'll do it on a little bit of, oh no, that's not what I want. A little oddment of Whisper White, and we'll have it with pumpkin pie ink. And I will snip round that. Hey there, pumpkin. And then grab a little tiny bit of Granny Apple Green card. Let's see it, a snail. Oh. And we'll put that up on some dimensionals too. one. And 2. There we go. So we have a little card that you can either use as a pumpkin, as a Halloween card, or leave the face off of it, and you can just have it as an autumny card. You might want to change up the background a little bit, perhaps have a different colour in the background there. So we have a pumpkin card and we have an apple card, and they will go along with the cards that we created on Monday. Let me just put the lids on those and move those out of the way. So we have that card and that card. And then on Monday we created this one as we cased the catalogue with this watercolour feel. So we've got cardstock giving us our colour for our apples. We've got blends giving us our colour. Got a bit of watercolour pencil on there, and this was using our inks to watercolour. So different techniques to add colour, different ways of using these little useful little apple and pumpkin stamps with its coordinating punch. So Harvest Hellos. So that's been our product of the week this week. I hope that you have enjoyed playing along with me with that one, and that you've found something to inspire you. Do check out, if you are living here in the UK locally, if you don't have a catalogue, either an annual catalogue or a Christmas catalogue, and you would like one, then do get in touch. Don't forget that if you're here in the UK and you spend £30 in my online store during October, because it is my birthday month, I had my actual birthday at the beginning of October and it's my Stamping Up birthday at the end of October. Because it's my birthday month, we've got this special promotion on that anybody spending £30 on my online store or in person with me in the month of October will get their name entered into a draw, and at the end of the month I will draw somebody out to win one of these bracelets themselves. So do bear that in mind if there's anything that you fancy. And I will be, so I've got a very busy weekend this weekend. It's the all-day retreat on Saturday, so for the ladies that are coming along to that, I'm very busy packing up my craft room to bring with me and creating things that you can make, and bringing along samples of things that you might like to have a go at, and thinking about food, what we're going to be eating. So all important stuff. So we're busy couple of 48 hours ahead, but really looking forward to that. So hopefully I will be awake at 8 o'clock on Monday morning to come in and share with you a little bit more crafting and our product of the week. So until then, have a fabulous weekend, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.